Your comments make the show better. Send us your thoughts live on our Facebook channel to be the star of today's show. Can't catch us live? Hit us up on our other social media channels to have your say. For now, welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show.
Good morning, Canada. Welcome to the Rod Pedersen Show. Sports fans, Canadian sports fans around the world, welcome to a brand new week, episode number 65 of the program. Coming at you on Facebook Live and listen live at rodpedersen.com. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019. If anybody wondered if we were live or not, we are. I'm Rod Pedersen. He's Darren DuPont. I'm Belichick. He's Brady.
I like that one. That's my favorite one.
I thought you would like that
of the
one.
the whole thing.
We're starting out on fire here.
I like it.
A little behind in my coffee drinking this morning. I just got off the phone, talked for the last hour. I was on the phone, first of all, in Lloydminster Radio, and then Edmonton Radio, if you will, with Bryn Griffiths and Robin Brownlee. They have the podcast The Outsider. Two big Edmonton sports names there. Bryn Griffiths and Robin Brownlee, as you know.
Yeah.
They wanted to talk about the CFL, Labor Day weekend, a little bit about the Oilers. How did I get the Ken Holland scoop? They're still not over that up there in Edmonton, which is fine. And I did tell those people in northern Saskatchewan and the Edmonton area that we'll be looking them up on our way through to Oiler games this year.
Yes.
Because I plan to go to quite a few. So anyways, we didn't have our pre-show meeting here today. Producer Clark was worried that I wasn't even going to show up at all. And I get it. But we went long on the radio in Edmonton.
Hey, you got to do business takes care, it comes first.
Doing
right?
business, and I was worried about you yesterday, worried that you could not get off the couch.
It was tough.
It was a very busy weekend for everybody, but particularly you. And I will say bravo to you for the work that you did with the Rod Pedersen's All-Star Celebrity Football Weekend, because couldn't have gone better.
Yeah.
Topped off by the Ryder win, of course, but everything was great.
Oh, it was so great. I, didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. Be honest, we put this all together in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, to put it all together, the pregame show, the alumni All-Star Celebrity Game, all of those things in 2 weeks, so much help from Paul and his crew at IKS to put that whole pregame show together. Len getting the field ready for us to be there to play over at RMF. Clark booking guests and getting guys lined up. So it was a good team effort. But yeah, wasn't sure if it was going to come together. And we tend to, not want to take on too much risk, and we want to do things that we know are going to work. And a lot of times I heard, well, let's do it next year. Maybe we should do it next year. Let's give ourselves a whole year to figure this out. And I'm like, well, no. The show is so great right now, and there's so much support. We have to do it, and I'm so glad we did.
Oh, yeah. And, I will say this. We're going to get a look at the photo album, Monday morning photo album here. But there was a big enough crowd at Leibel Field on Saturday night that Len Antonini from Regina Minor Football is like, this isn't just friends and family. There's fans here. And Jim Hobson's like, this place is going to be full next year. And we had a little mini meeting right after the game. Jason Claremont's like, next year we got to have cheerleaders. Not like the dance teams, but his daughter's in a cheerleading club. And let's have a competition. Everybody, let's have yardsticks. Let's have a bigger officiating crew. Let's televise it. Which one last thing I want to say before we move on and get to the photo album is what people don't understand. A lot of you media guys, I think, like yourself, Darryl Ronald, Myers, Rempel, all wanted to be pro athletes. Anybody from my hometown here, Milestone, Saskatchewan, will tell you, will corroborate my story. All I ever wanted to do is this. It's all I've ever wanted to do. Didn't want to be an athlete. If it had worked out, great. But this is more fun. So the other night, I'm announcing the game, I'm running the music, and until halftime, Tyler, our business manager, was running the clock, but his kids went ape, and he had to take off. So I'm running the clock, the music, and the thing, and I'm like, this is awesome. And I'm going to leave the music up the whole game, like a rush game, because for the first time in my life, I can call the shots.
Yes.
For the first time. So, and that's what people were telling me. The music was up the whole game. It was like a rush game. It was a show. It was fun. And then, of course, the game went down to the last play. Video review would have been needed. I'm running stop time, running the music and announcing. What do you think that was like? I felt like an octopus up there.
Sure.
Then had the time of my life. And you guys did on the field, too.
Yes.
And from what I understand, Rob Bresciani has not been seen since Saturday night.
We haven't seen or heard from him.
The MVP of Team Green. He was Rob Bresciani, star kids, of the 1989 Grey Cup champion Riders. He was. There are those that say he almost won a playoff game for the Riders back then. He's like 55. He scored a 55-yard rushing touchdown as the quarterback, threw a touchdown pass to Neil Hughes, picked off Noah Picton, did it all.
Yeah. He was very impressive to watch. When you got guys, Noah Picton played in the game, and that was special. It was special to catch a pass or two or three from him. That was cool for me.
I bet.
He was at a CFL training camp this year.
Played in a CFL
Played
game.
in the CFL this year. Still could play in the CFL. He's tuned up, and watching him and Jason Claremont together, that was fun too. The way they strategized.
Claremont was diving for catches like it was 2006 all over again.
Yeah, and he caught that one in the end zone. It was great. It was like he was 25 years old. Bresciani, too.
There's Craig Smith, our director of scouting, was there. He says, Bresciani, MVP of the game. He was the oldest guy on the field, folks. And he was the best. So there's something for Rob Bresciani. And by the way, playing with those stars, that's like a little fantasy camp kind of thing, like Gretzky does.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But it reminds me of the Ryder camp in Florida a few years ago, and Vince Young was at quarterback for the Riders. And who was the young kid? He was the star of the camp. Xavier Bingham picked him off, and he kept the football. He's like, I picked off Vince Young. He's waving it. So, yeah, it's a fantasy for everybody, and those players get to they probably never thought they'd play in front of a crowd again.
Yeah.
So it was fun for everybody. We will get to the Labor Day Classic games. However, you and Clark have put together a Monday morning photo album here, so why don't you do the narration of it?
Well, let's take a look. We can chat about it. What do we got, Clark, first?
There we go. There's the team photo.
Yeah.
See me right in the middle? Right to my left, your right, is Rob Bresciani, the good-looking guy with the beard.
Yeah, you got these up on Facebook, and I think if they're not in our group on the Rod Pedersen Show Facebook page, we'll put them up there today. We'll get all the photos compiled, and Jim Hobson in the back towards the left.
Yeah, Ryder alum in there. Mike McCullough, Scott McHenry, Hobson you mentioned, Dan Rashovich, Neil Hughes. As Raz said to me, how come he didn't say my name? I said, you didn't do anything.
There's Mike Strickland kind of towards the right side in the back row, the small...
the two stars of Canada's amazing race, Lauren and Joanne Lavoie, were the biggest stars of the night. All the little kids were going nuts.
Yeah.
You see them in the front row to the left, right beside Kelly Rempel in a Santa hat. Okay, next one. We'll just go through. That's Neil Hughes snapping the ball. Only went into the Ryder Hall of Fame last week.
Yeah, no big deal.
No big deal.
Snapping the ball.
Snapping to Bresh.
And he can still move.
Okay, next, there's the Lavoie sisters, who, by the way, were outstanding. One had 5 catches. The other one had like 5 knockdowns.
Yeah, they were good.
And tackles. There's El Presidente, Jim Hobson, the coach of Team White, who said next year this place will be sold out. And you see on the bench, Claremont, Ray Jacobs, former Denver Bronco, Mike McCullough to the right. Okay. And there's Noah Picton, the aforementioned Jason Claremont. Don't they look good?
They were having so much fun, those two together, when they found out they were on the same team. Yeah, it was cool.
That was a good Rams alumni. That's Ray Jacobs injuring himself. Taking off after Rob Bresciani. Look at the crowd, Marshall. Not bad, huh?
Pretty good.
That's only part of it. Ray Jacobs was rushing the quarterback, and it looked like he might be ready to take somebody's head off, and there was Bresh.
That is the aforementioned Paul. Paul, one of the owners here. He's not in his chair today. Saturday night, he was sitting beside me up in the Nerve Center. And that is the donut eating contest on Sunday before the game. Thank you, Hobo Donuts. That's one of the soldiers in the middle. Captain Kober.
Yep.
I had to be corrected. I have been calling him Sergeant Kober.
Yeah, that's a big foul. We had to buy him a beer on the weekend. It was either that or we got yelled at. That's when you.
So you'll buy him a beer.
I didn't want to get yelled at. No.
Abu Meshrik in the purple, and there's all of us. Amanda, by the way, 5'0", won the donut eating contest.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, and that's our pregame. How good did that look? Wow, was that fun?
Yeah. Gene Mikowski came up. Daryl Rommel was on the show. There's Ray Jacobs and Mike Abumetric. but it was so cool to just be part of it. It was very neat to be on the stage, and the fans were just so captivated. And then we got chances, of course, after the game on Saturday, but then also after our pregame show, sign autographs, to mingle with the fans and do all that wonderful stuff.
It was all fantastic. And then topped off by the game, and I got a lot of notes here. Coming up after this warm-up segment, Marshall Hamilton will join us in the bunker for the CFL alum take on the games. I'll jump immediately to this because I'm sure we got a lot of Winnipeg viewers today. We're the only probably broadcast outlet talking about it at this time of day. Come on, Winnipeg. Step into our office. They're going to throw a fit over officiating and missed calls in a 1917 Rough Riders win on Sunday, where, by the way, if you're Paul LaPolice, think of this for 1 second. You devise an offensive strategy for the game with Chris Streveler, which I think initially they tossed out the window and went back to what works with Streveler, and that's running them up the middle. Whatever. They were getting first downs, and he got the touchdown off tackle. 2 minutes to go. You're in the lead. It should be over. And then you go out there, you put the ball in Cody Fajardo's hands, and look, I said McLeod Bethel Thompson of Toronto is not consistent. He's not. Here's consistency. Cody Fajardo, 5 out of 5 on the final drive, eluding pressure, puts him in position for a 26-yard Brett Lowther field goal to win the game. This is not on Richie Hall. It's probably on the defensive players of the Bombers, but that's the bend but don't break defense that allows yardage up between the 25s. You get into the red zone, again, you're not getting in. They didn't need to get in. All they needed was a field goal. So the bend but don't break doesn't work in that situation. And to be upset that your long snapper got knocked out of the game? Let's go back to Brandon Bridge and the playoff game last year. Come on. And Mike O'Shea gets in the face of Craig Dickinson after the game when they're supposed to be shaking hands. Poor display. I don't want to say of sportsmanship. Poor display to your team, I believe, of lack of composure. Not we're going to come out and get him next week, which, by the way, you didn't see Chris Jones losing it on O'Shea at the end of the playoff game last year, did you? There was no next week last year. And the Bombers are pissing and moaning about their long snapper getting knocked out of the game. I see their broadcaster, Bob Irving, complaining about officiating. Did you see his tweet? And how only one holding call on the Bombers' offensive line? Come on, Bob. You're better than that. This is the things over the years where, but by the way, this is great. Everybody's spitting fire and everybody's mad at each other. And you said it wasn't you. Banjo Bowl's going to be great and emotions are up and all. That's all great. I'm enjoying sitting back and watching everybody lose their minds on social media. It's fun to watch it rather than be a part of it. But let's get real for a second. Officiating didn't cost the Winnipeg Blue Bombers the football game. Come on.
No. We said this in the pregame show that everybody thought this was going to be a game that the Riders would maybe have their way with, and it has the potential to be a blowout. But that Winnipeg defense is an elite defense. It's a top-tier defense in the CFL, and they're going to do their thing, and they did. What was it, just three second-half points, right, for the Riders in that football game. They locked things down, but you're right. You had the lead late in the football game.
You're
that
right. It was 16-10 at halftime.
Yeah, that defense has to be able to close the game out. But the Rider offensive line, okay, just the one holding call all game. But was it 5 sacks they allowed? It wasn't a great game from the offensive line of the Riders for the most part. But when it mattered, that final drive, they locked things down, and William Powell, Cody Fajardo got it done. And I love that there's a little bit of this hate. I don't know that it's all warranted and all justified, but I love it because it's going to make the Banjo Bowl so much fun. And we need to get a little bit of this back and forth. But, it's not coming off great in Winnipeg here on Tuesday morning, that's for sure.
Well, and that's the funniest thing, because I love Bob Irving, by the way. And when I left my last job, he was one of the first guys to call. I love Bob. We're in that brethren together. But what I never understood was, if I was tweeting the things, bitching about officials and, well, he's not talking about conspiracies, but somewhere in the Winnipeg media, I would be nailed to the cross. How come they can say it and I never could? I never understood that.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. As my counselor would say, you can't. That's all that matters. Don't worry about anybody else. He was right.
Yeah.
So that's the warm-up. Marshall Hamilton in the bunker coming back after the break. We've also got former Rider DB Nicholas D. Graham. Nick Graham, fantastic guy, watching everything we do, watching everything the Riders do. We'll get an update on his life and his take on the CFL to this point. And also Peter Labardius coming up from the Calgary Flames broadcast crew. It's show number 65. We'll be back after this timeout. Canada's most watched Facebook Live show is The Rod Pedersen Show. Listen live at rodpedersen.com and catch the podcast at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and iHeartRadio.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.